Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. Are you looking to better your financial situation by increasing your cash flow? Too busy to hunt for real estate deals or don't know where to start? Then you're in the right spot. Join us as we dive in and talk about investing for cash flow using multifamily real estate.
Welcome to the Cash Flow Project Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Fieros with Tri-City Equity Group. Today, we've got John Schuchman on the show. John is a realtor, he's an agent coach, and he's the host of a Real Estate Survival Guide podcast. I actually really like that. I've been an agent, for years. I've had my license for years, and there's definitely times where you need a survival guide. So, but he's got a podcast specifically created to help realtors find success in their careers. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Steve. Honored to be here. Thanks for what you're doing. I know podcasting can often be a thankless job. So thanks for what you're doing through your show and how you're helping people with it. And I'm very thankful to be here today.
Yeah, no, awesome. I really appreciate that. And thanks for taking some time and coming on and sharing with our audience, a little bit about your journey. Kind of for our listeners that may not be familiar with you, we've got a lot of investor listeners that may be on the show, but I know a lot of agents that listen too. They kind of need some gems, maybe need some takeaways. Give us a little bit of your background, how you got started in real estate, just in general, and kind of what brought you to today. With you're doing coaching and you're doing the podcast and all these different cool things. Fill us in a little bit on your backstory.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Me and you even talked briefly. We both have like that ministry background. So I went to school too and thought I was going to be in ministry, become a pastor. And the basics of my story in short is I've probably had more W-2 9-to-5 jobs than anyone in the world. And each and every job, I just wouldn't last long. I think my longest W-2 job from the time I was 16 to about 31, 32 when I got into what I'm doing now was probably 2 years was my longest. And, I would lose jobs, get fired, these kinds. Now, I wasn't like sleeping with the boss. I wasn't robbing money from the cash register. I just have this entrepreneurial spirit. I'm such a dreamer and a visionary. So, for instance, one of my jobs was for Chick-fil-A, great organization. But what I learned is I was always trying to learn, improve, grow the restaurant, things like that I didn't at the time have the awareness to be like, hey, you know what? It's great to grow the business, grow the restaurant at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. when there's nobody there. 1 p.m. when you're trying to push 150 cars through the drive-through in an hour, and that's not an exaggeration, is not the time to be like, hey, let's try to improve this. So I think part of it was me learning social awareness and hey, what makes sense, what doesn't. And another part was I just didn't, was looking for the right role. And I feel like God guided all that, right? And, we often hope life's like this, kind of stepping up the stairs or up a mountain, but it's more like this, like a roller coaster up and down. And so that was kind of what I did, kind of like a hamster wheel, start a job. The job didn't work, either me or them or whatever, go to the next job. And so I still remember the day, February 26, 2019, I lost my last W-2 job, never written up, never anything, and just boom, canned like that. A mentor who I probably will reference a couple times, Vincent Puglisi, he leads my mastermind group. I called him crying. My wife was pregnant on the time. I said, I lost my job. And he said, this is the best thing to ever happen to you. I'm like, no, you don't get it. My wife's pregnant. You don't know. And he said, John, you have this entrepreneurial spirit and vision that I've seen for so long and tried to encourage you with. I used to do photography, and he kind of thought I could really make that a full-time thing. And he's like, and you've never had the chance to go and do this and build it. He's like, now you have the chance. Now, of course, there was a lot of struggle and trying to survive off my wife's $35,000, $40,000 income during that time. But I got into real estate that summer of 2019, got licensed, and really kind of getting into real estate. One of the things I did take from other businesses, I've had billions of jobs, but they've always been in sales. I knew I was good at sales and good at relationships. So when I thought about what I could do, real estate just made so much sense. I knew people who were in it and said, would I be good at this? And they're like, you would crush it. You would crush it. Got into the business. We survived financially by some miracle from God. It was I couldn't believe it. 9 months, didn't sell a darn house. But what I did, and I know we're going to jump into social media. I've always used social media for business. I used social media, right? So anybody who's a realtor or even investor knows you're hosting open houses, you're doing showings. How much are you making? Absolutely nothing, right? But my first client, and it was a pain. I made I made less money than what I spent driving around. But my first client, I showed 63 houses to. Now they had a lot going on, but so I was doing, showings with them and open houses. People started to comment and say, "Oh my gosh, you're crushing it." Now I'm thinking, I'm broke. Like I'm not crushing it. But it triggered in me like, wait a second, you don't necessarily need to be crushing it for people to have this perception on social media that you're crushing it. Now, that doesn't mean you lie. That doesn't mean I say, now, for instance, I don't say I got 20 offers on this house when I got 5. I'd be honest, but I took pictures at every showing. And so even though it was the same client, it looked like, holy cow. And so I learned from that the power of networking, organic conversations, free, like social media where like you're just posting stuff out there to the audience you already have is so powerful.
Yeah.
And man, so yeah, there's a lot, and it's changed my life, man. June of 2020, I had sold one house that April, so 9 months, first house, and then I did one in June, 2 houses in my first year. June of 2020, we asked family, we were like, we can't keep our house. We're going to go broke. Can we move in with you? It didn't work out for them at the time. And I feel like that was like, okay, well, suck it up, buttercup. You got to figure it out. June of 2020, we were $220,000 in debt. And, God bless my business so much. June of 2022, all our debt was paid off, including our house. $220,000 swing in 2 years. And so if you're listening to this and you're struggling, you're frustrated, you feel discouraged, maybe even for your investors that are listening, they're like, I got no margin anymore. The margin's so tight with the rates. Like, you have no idea the power of social media. And I think the power, again, for me as a person of faith and like trusting that God's going to it's going to be okay. He'll take care of you. He's not going to let me go broke. But there's a lot of power in believing in yourself and hustle, right? As I coach and train agents, so many of the ones that are successful are doing it full time. So many of the ones not in real estate full time are like, I don't know why I can't get any traction. I'm like, you want the real answer? Quit your job. Now, not everyone can do that, but anyway, I know I threw a lot at you, but I've been very blessed, very thankful, and now I love helping agents. I started a podcast because I'm like, what was the things I wish I would have known when I got into the industry 2 years ago at the time, now 4 years. And I've just released those in a podcast, and that led to membership, coaching, mastermind. So it's been a journey, but God's blessed it, and it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. And, for one, thanks for being vulnerable there, and being real kind of with me, with our audience, with our listeners, because not everybody, especially when the agents were out, and it just as well as I do, for agents, it's like, people feel obligated to kind of put out there this persona, right? Wow, of course I'm doing well, like that, right? Like I'm showing 60 houses. It's like, well, everybody thinks that you're just raking in the dough, and every agent that I know wants to drive a BMW or a Mercedes and just put across that, really to the buyers and the sellers, hey, I'm successful. You can trust me, right? And so, thanks for being real there and saying, hey, look, even though I'm trying to be out there and grinding, and the reality is, I've got debt, I've got bills, and I've been there too personally. Having been an agent in a couple of different states, couple of different markets, work the retail side, work the investor side, like it's not easy. Anybody I think in sales knows, especially if it's a 100% commission job, boy, it's that the rubber meets the road, and there can be a lot of stress there, especially like that. You shared, this is in the midst of you guys having a little one, and that was in the midst of COVID too. So you got some sales, right? As everything is, the world is falling and being crazy all around. So kudos to you. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
So something else too, like that, you mentioned, it's like, okay, well, the struggle, right? And being real with your struggle, honestly, I've heard before, like Ed Milet shares this, if any of you guys are familiar with that, it's like, hey, look, you're best equipped to help the person that you were, right? So you coming through the struggle and the grind and, being in debt, to now, hey, we've gotten out of that, right? I'm successful now. I know what it takes. You can throw a lifeline back and help, all those people that are coming up through that muck, right? Because, maybe that's not something that you had, throughout that process. And it's like, hey, look, I can do this. I can answer that. I've been there. I understand, like I know what it takes. And it sounds like to you, or to me, sounds like you had, great mentorship. You had some leadership. You had some guidance kind of early on. You mentioned your mentor there. You mentioned, a mastermind and whatnot as well. I can't emphasize to you guys, really, no matter what you're doing, whether you're an agent, I feel like anything in life, it's always best to have guidance, to have a mastermind, to have a network, to have, we were talking, faith, have a spiritual family, that you can go to that's not necessarily your blood family, but that's a support structure. I mean, it's so vital. And that's so important to have.
Yeah. And I think it's very interesting, so many, I recently left a team, and I told you how I'm now over at EXP like you are, and love it there. I left a team, and I would often see the leader of the team be like, well, I can't spend this. I can't spend this. I can't spend this. And I'm like, you're making $300,000 a year in a real estate. You could spend this. You choose not to. I have found, and I coach and teach and encourage people, that you should be investing 10% of your income back into coaching. So when I made my 3-4 years, whatever it was, my first $100,000 a year, 10,000 of that went back into coaching, right? And some people so my mastermind, I paid $500 a month, and they're like, oh my gosh, how can you afford that? But that year that I started that, so $500, I was doing one in person and one online. So basically it was about $1,000 a month total. And people were like, well, that's a lot. And I'm like, it is, but in the last year, my income's gone up $70,000. So so it's kind of like, right, everybody talks about like the 5X, the 10X. If I told you that it's, and someone was on my podcast once being like, it's like printing money. And it was kind of funny because they're like, it's a legal printing press. If I know that if I invest in myself, now you got to do the work, join a mastermind, right? And I know it's going to give me a 6X return. Why aren't I doing more of that? Right. And so I would encourage you, if you've kind of been like, I can't spend the money, you got to kind of like let the money go and be willing to invest in yourself. Now, I'm not saying you join like the $100,000 a year mastermind, but start at something like, again, a couple $100 a month, $500 a month, etc., to build up to that. But you should be investing 10% of your income to become better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like people, like student debt has been this huge topic this last couple of years, right? It's like, man, college tuition has gotten higher and higher and higher. And then there's, you mentioned having a couple $100,000 in debt. Gosh, there's people that spend that, they have that in student debt. Well, okay, well, you're willing to spend, X amount, like let's say on education, secondary education, post-secondary, because that, all of this kind of higher level. Okay, well, that doesn't have to stop after you finish with, kind of traditional schooling, right? If you're in a professional business setting, pay the money for the coaching. This is an ongoing thing. As you level up, right, you can afford, just like you mentioned, right? Hey, a couple $100 a month, you can get you into some certain groups, right? And certain masterminds, that kind of deal. There are plenty of people that spend 6 figures on education. I mean, I've met people before where it's like, no, there is a commitment that I have that every year I will send X percentage of my income on getting better. And what I've found over the years is the more that you're willing to spend, it's not really, after a while, it's not really about, are you learning more? A lot of times it's about the connections. It's about the mindset. There's somebody, somebody that's willing to pay 6 figures into a mastermind. Again, for one, they can afford to pay 6 figures in a mastermind. Okay. Right. So you're already in a room with somebody who's operating at a higher level, likely. Okay. 2, let's say the net worth, the influence, the experience, the exposure that you have to be able to spend that. Now you get access to that. Right. So, and again, I don't have anything to sell you, John, well, definitely, I know you have your program and your coaching. It's one of those things where I cannot tell you, look, those people are further down the road potentially than you are. Okay.
Mhm.
Every time that you let's say you pay for coaching, you pay for a mastermind, you're now getting to tap into their experience. It's the whole concept of a mastermind, right? If there's five
Yeah.
of us sitting in a room and we have combined experience and we can now come together to help solve each other's problems, help advance each other. Like, hey, I've learned these lessons in doing X, Y, Z. Oh man, gosh, I've been
Yep.
beating my head running into this problem in my business. What did you do to solve that? And it's as simple as that.
Yep.
And that one concept, that one strategy, that one change can make all the difference in the world and take you from, like that struggling to, no,
Mhm.
wow, we're doing better than ever.
Well, and I think too, it's so funny because you don't know what you're going to get. So, for instance, as the week we're recording this, I posted something this week where someone in my mastermind, that it's online, it's across the country, but he lives in Philadelphia, about an hour away. So we got together. He's like, let's talk. I'm really good at the social media piece. He's really good. He was a former engineer, really good at the organizational, and like he's smarter than me. So I sat down and we were together for 3 hours. And I was like, this is going to be all about business, growing my real estate business and this, growing he's got a solo commercial cleaning business, growing that. And I felt like the first 2 hours was all like, how to be a better dad, how to be a better Christian, how to be a better father. Like I said, like spouse. And it was like, my mind was blown because I still got great business advice, but sometimes we're so like in our heads that we're like, well, wait a second, let's bring it back to basics. Have I seen my kids in the last 3 weeks? Have I spent time with my wife? Have I, right? Am I, if your faith is something, if faith is something, am I, is that valuable? Is that something I'm putting priority in? And so I left saying to myself, does my calendar reflect what I say is important, right? How do I honor Jesus in my business and in my life, right? So, and I still got great business stuff, but without that mastermind, I'm like, all right, cool, grow my business, grow my business, grow my business. And for those of you out there, I would encourage you, right? Like, I'm a Michigan football fan. So I'm a huge fan. I hated the Patriots, but I was a huge fan of Tom Brady. But I would ask you to question, like, what's it worth, right? So I look at Tom Brady, best football player of all time, and he kept doing like one more thing, one more thing, one more year. Now I don't know everything that went on in his marriage. I'm not going to presume, but like eventually his wife, it seems, was like, I'm not doing this. You went back to football. You kind of made your choice. And so I think now, again, hopefully you guys communicate with your spouse and they're not like, if you do another real estate transaction, but I think the point is open and honest communication and like really allowing your spouse to call you out. Like, dude, you've worked like 80 hours a week. We haven't seen you. Like my kids are about to turn 4 and 2.5. And I think I want time with them, right? Like, I don't care. Yeah, I want to make good money and provide for them, but what's it worth if they don't know me? So I think that's the power of a mastermind as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, because what it is you have somebody that has that shared experience, right? Hey, look, we're operating at this level, but even at this level, because that's another fallacy I think people fall into. Well, if when I get to make the money, right, then that's going to solve X, Y, and Z. My marriage is going to be better. If I just hit this level of success, I get this title or whatever, everything is magically going to get better, and that's just not the case. And sometimes we need to hear it from those people that may be a little further down the road. Again, they've had the life lessons, right? If you talk to Tom now, again, I have no connection with Tom Brady. I'm a fan of Michigan too, and I was always a fan of Michigan growing up. I just thought their logos were cool, man. The Wolverines, come on now.
Yeah.
But I was a fan of him, and I mean, you hate to see that, right? It's like, hey, this is guy, he's the GOAT in his respective field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this has applications across any platform. Was it worth the sacrifice?
Yeah.
And only he can answer that. But in my
Right.
mind, and I just had a recent interview too, where it was the same kind of deal. It's like, is that really a success, right? Can I really call that a success if I have nothing to come back home to, right? And that's a tough one, right? And so, but again, sometimes just having that mastermind component of, all right, this person is several steps down the road. They've already made the money, or they've achieved those certain levels of success. Do they have for me? Can I glean anything from them? Can they give me any pointers? Hey, don't do that. Look out for this. This is something I'm struggling with now. Look out for this. This could be a potential problem. I see this, and really just giving you an outside perspective, right? Because you can share with them about what your business is looking like and that kind of deal. Hey, I noticed this. I noticed you doing this. We've been meeting, and I'd like to kind of share a little insight with you. This is just something I'm seeing, as an outside third party kind of looking in. And this is also the power of, like I said, that mastermind component, getting better, committing to education. I fully agree.
And I would ask,
what you're sharing.
I would encourage people to look around, right, virtually or physically, and say, when I get together with people, am I the smartest person in the room?
Sure.
And if you are, you need to find a new room, right? Because it can be an ego. Oh, I kind of like that I'm like the head honcho here and I'm important, but and I do have, right, I have some of that in the coaching that I do, that I'm the guy and they look, but I kind of said, like, I don't want us to always be in that room. I want to go in rooms where people are like, yeah, you bum, do better. Like, I'm kind of being silly, but like, where like they're encouraging me and pushing me to always be better in my business, faith, and family as well.
Yeah, what I had always kind of learned was like, you should have this constellation model, right? Where, hey, you've got you in the center, you've got people above you that are pouring into you. You've got people that are kind of at your your cohort, that are at your same level, and you guys can kind of share. And then you're also have some downward pointing lines where you get to give back, right? You get to have some coaching, and honestly, you can learn from every facet of that, right? You can learn definitely from the people that are pouring into you. You can learn from your people that are associates of yours. And then, I mean, honestly, the times that I've done coaching and that kind of stuff, training, mentoring, I learned through that process too. And you can't help but to be a better individual, better professional, better in all aspects, husband, spiritually, all that, all of the different components, by kind of maintaining that model. So that's something that we've always sought to maintain in our lives. So yeah, no, I fully agree. Well, I want to transition a little bit to because I know your focus has been a lot on helping agents and whatnot through social media. Now it's like more important than ever, right? It's like, the idea of being, let's say, omnipresent. There's so many different channels out there where people can be connected, and you kind of have to, like when I first started in the business, like getting close to 2 decades ago, was social media was just becoming a thing. Like Bigger Pockets had just started. Like I was probably one of the first couple hundred people on Bigger Pockets. I'm the only guy in my office, doing any kind of online posting. I would be, the local newspaper's got an online classifieds. Okay, well, I'm going to post my deals up there. I remember I was the first person in my office at that time to sell a house through social media. It was on MySpace. I sold a deal through MySpace.
Wow.
I'm really aging myself there. But I remember everybody in my office they were laughing at that. They're like, "What's a joke? What are you talking about?" And it's like, oh my goodness, we fast forward, 2 decades now, and it's like you can't not be on social media. I mean, you can, but I feel like there's going to be limits to your reach, limits to your success at this point. So, what are you doing, now to help clients through social media, coaching them, and kind of what platforms or what kind of strategies are you using? What's the power of that?
Here is the biggest thing that I say to people, because, and I just want to let you know, like, if you're hearing this and you literally got like anxiety hearing the word social media, it's okay. That's actually pretty natural. And I'm going to tell you why, like everything you believe about social media is basically a lie. So basically, the way we're trained is people say, well, I'll say, first of all, be on whatever platform you're on. So when someone hires me to do coaching on social media, I'm like, they're like, do I need to be dancing on TikTok? I'm like, what platform are you using already? And they're like, well, I mean, I have a Facebook account. I'm like, okay, you're not dancing on TikTok. Let's use even if it's 100 friends, 5,000, 4,000, anywhere in the middle, let's use what you have already. We're not going to start TikTok. Now, I do believe like short form video. Actually, I was joking with someone the other day about like short form video is the future, and and they're like, no, dude, it's the present, and you just haven't been here. You've been in the past. But really, the thing about social media is be you, be natural. So I'm not going to come on this show and be like, well, you need to be on Facebook because it works for me. Guess what? It does. And that's how I created a 6-figure real estate income. But if you're on LinkedIn and really leveraging those connections, use it. If you're on TikTok dancing, great. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, great. I would say start with what you're using. And here's the other lie. So the lie we hear is people tell us. So for instance, I had a family member, they might find this, so I won't say who it was, but very close blood relative that said to me, well, I can see from social media that all you care about is your clients and how much money you make. And I was really hurt. I'm like, what do you want me to like post about you? Like every day? It was very weird because it's someone I would check in. Anyway, well, it's a sibling. Okay. I'm sure she won't find it. Anyway. So, and I'm like, I was very hurt by that. So here's the deal. I could have taken that and said, fine, I'll never post. Or I could have said, you're clearly hurt. I'm sorry that you're hurt. It's probably not my fault. I'll apologize for whatever I did do, and you just have to like get over the rest. And like, because, but people hear those comments and say, I won't post. And that is a disservice to you and your clients. People will also say, well, I don't want to beg my family and friends for business. And I say, hey, do your family and friends want to support you in what you're doing? Yeah. Okay. So are they going to be annoyed that you say that you're a realtor? No. Okay. And here's the thing. If you go, and here's the thing, guys, John Schuchman, you can look up my name on Facebook. It's public. You don't have to be my friend, but you're welcome to. And you can look at what I do. Because even when I do a post, sold, I could be like, I'm the freaking man. I got them under contract. I showed them the house. If you come at social media from a place, and this is why I was like offended that the family member sent this. I'm like, because if you come in at a place of like humility, my posts are congratulations to this client. Thank you so much. We had some hiccups, but you endured. You worked hard. You did this. Thank you so much to everyone that made it possible. The lender, the title, the this, the that. And then I write, it was such an honor to be a small part of this process. Again, come from humility. I could be, I'm the man. I wasn't a small part. I showed the house. I wrote the offers. So when you come from a place of humility on social media, you win, right? And here's the thing. You don't have to post about real estate 24/7. People want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So even before we got on, and Steve, we joked because we had missed each other. I had to cancel. You were booked out pretty far. It's been months since we and I was like, we were both like, who is that? I looked you up on Facebook, saw you were a person of faith. And by getting on the Zoom, we kind of already had a connection just because you wrote on Facebook, whatever it was about your faith, right? So like someone I'm coaching loves to travel, right? And so I say, so post about you love to travel. Because you might meet a client and they're like, oh my goodness, we were just about to go to Europe. What's your favorite part? Da, da, da. And you make a connection and a friendship when you're like, all I did was post that I was booking a cruise, right? Very weird. But people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I'll let you, I'm sorry, I feel like I have such long answers. What I will also say to everyone is you need to hear this. And I want you to write this down. And you're going to be very confused, but just write it down if you're listening. You are being selfish by not posting on social media. You're being selfish, and you're kind of like, no, John, you said it wrong. I'm being selfish when I do post. You're not, because here's the deal. If you're a realtor, if you're an investor, right? We can talk about how investors can really use social media. My buddy Vincent, who's leads my mastermind, he was coaching on this one time. And he goes, John, do you know bad realtors in Lancaster? And I'm like, of course. Do you know realtors that are going to take advantage of people, lie, da-da-da-da-da? Yes. John, do you take advantage, lie? No. Okay. Then he said this to me. He goes, then you are being selfish by not posting. And I still didn't get it. He's like, you don't post and say, want to buy a house? Want to buy a house? Please buy a house. Like, please support my family. You post what you do. You share it. You give your friends and family permission to know a realtor that has integrity, trust, is going to do the right thing. So by not posting, yes, I'm being selfish by not giving them a chance to work with a good realtor. And here's the deal, guys. We all know those sleazy used car salesmen. So when we find for example, you find a good car salesman, you recommend them because you're like, he didn't do this. You find a good mechanic. So You give your friends and family permission. Maybe they don't buy from you. You give them permission to say, hey, Billy, I see you're looking for a realtor. My cousin, I just saw this post. He became a realtor. At the end of the day, I have never in my 4 or 5 year career begged for a sale ever. I share stories. And if you scroll on my page, I tell people, and I think of myself, I'm not a realtor, I'm a storyteller, and I help people find homes. So my job is, what's the story that I'm guiding them through? I'm actually about to, in July, do a podcast series about how I became like a listing expert. And one of the episodes is called Leverage, and leverage the results. So I just had a deal go under contract. I went outside in front of the house. Now, again, honest, don't say I got 50 offers when you got 6. And I said, hey guys, out front of 123 Main Street, we shut off showings after 36 hours. We were inundated with requests. My clients thrilled. They got 20,000 above what they asked, the asking price. I'm not begging anybody for business, but someone will see that and call me, right? So, so I get so passionate about it because it doesn't have to be that hard. Be you. Steve, I love that you have on Facebook, right, about your faith, right? You're being genuine. You're being real. Like, be genuine, be real, right? Be honest, have integrity, be a nice person, and the business will come.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I actually like that. I like that you shared that about the kind of what I wrote down with how you were saying, like, okay, well, people know, they see kind of some negative aspects, right? Like if you watch the news, right, or you see any social media headline or, whatever, through any object, it's the negative stuff that gets the forefront, right? And that's kind of what everybody sees.
Bingo.
And it's like, okay, well, like what I wrote down, right? I got my little sticky pad right here, right? I redeem the bad news, right? Let's say, and this happened to me recently, so this is kind of fresh in my mind. So, we do syndications, right, for commercial, multifamily projects, right? And so, I was sharing with a friend, and for a long time, it's a friend of mine, but he's not an investor, but he knows what we do. And there was some kind of bad news in a major publication recently, specifically about this aspect of the business. And so of course, he sends that over to me, and I'm like looking over the article and whatever. And it's like, okay, well, you've got some bad actors there, right? Or, you had a bad situation, bad experience. I'm not denying that. It has nothing to do with me, and I had to tell him and say, hey, look, yeah, I mean, sucks for those people involved, but the business concept is still sound. Like there's not, I'm going to continue to do this. Me, you trust me, that has nothing to do with my business, but it's almost like, because, we'll post some wins and we'll post, things that are going on in our business that's the same segment of real estate. Well, this kind of doesn't jive to me, because if I see this, well, Steve's a good guy, and I know he's not a sleazebag, slumlord, which would surprisingly will get sometimes, like, oh, you guys own an apartment, oh, you're a slumlord.
Yes, well, of course you're. If you own a rental, you're a slumlord. That's what they say about everybody. Yep. Right,
and it's like, well, I'd like to help kind of redeem your thought process there, because it can be a huge benefit to the communities that we serve, obviously our investors and really all parties involved. I mean, have I ever come across you as a slumlord? Well, no. Okay, well then, guess we're not all necessarily that way. But again, people don't know that, right? If you're not posting, and again, I need to post more, but I'm glad in that moment that kind of showed me, no, you know what, we need to do more, because just like you shared, hey, we can kind of redeem some negative aspects or negative experiences, right? But like that people have had. Hey, I like John. He is a good guy. Oh, he's selling houses. You know what? Maybe I'll give him a call. Or, my cousin mentioned that and that they're looking for something. I'll refer him over here. I like John. He's a solid guy. He's never done me wrong. Like, yeah, hey, give him a call, kind of deal. So I like that. And I do like that is a component of social media that we can utilize. That's not like, look at me. It's like, well, look, I'm just trying to provide a service to you. I'm trying to redeem this component of the, this negative experience that people have had previously, right? I can just show you what I do. I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but yeah, no, I like that. I actually really like that.
And I think too, right, and we talked before we recorded, for investors, so many investors like, well, I'm not going to use social media. And I would say, right, and I even share this example that I would share this, like, imagine that you're an investor and no one knows. There's so many investors like, nope, I'm too busy. And I'm like, no one knows what you do. I've had clients that list a home with me as the realtor. Now, I'm glad for the business. Thank you, investors, for not posting. But imagine that imagine, so I had an elderly lady and she really didn't want people in her home. And it would have been so nice to have an investor in my area that could come in. Hey, what's this home worth to you? Can you just come look? And so if those investors would have been like, hey, I'm looking for homes in, that home was in Willow Street or Lancaster or whatever, Hawaii, like, oh, I didn't even know Steve was an investor. Yeah, I actually know this person who wants to sell. Because remember, every client is different. For my person who was selling the home, she didn't care about the most money. She cared about, I don't want strangers in my home. I don't feel safe with strangers in my home. So maybe she would, and that was a $350,000 property. Maybe if you're trying to get it for $250,000, but maybe she would have been like, hey, I'll do it for this to avoid going on the MLS, avoid the showings, things like that. And what I think is so cool, I mean, I'm sure you give back, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners give back. When you grow your business, you get to go be generous. I've shared how we're thinking about investing. I want to own an investment, and I would love to be like, cool, this is cash flowing. I'm making some money. I'd love to give this to someone free in the church, and they haven't been able to. And Shell's thinking about it, like they haven't been able to afford a vacation in years, right? And you can like bless them. It's not just be a slumlord. It's not just get rich. It's like, hey, guess what? Everything, like I feel like I'm a steward of what God's entrusted to me. Yeah, I want to make good money when I buy an Airbnb, not just to get rich. I'd love to be able to like donate that to people too. So like you can make good money and be an investor and still like serve people through it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I found is, as we've increased in productivity, increased in, income and whatnot. I mean, honestly, guys, all it does is it gives you more options, right?
Yes.
Before like that, and we have like multiple short-term rentals, vacation rentals. If somebody needs, respite and they're looking to, man, I just need to get away, right? Like I'm struggling in my marriage. I'm struggling in this and here, whatever. I wish I could take a trip away, and we just can't do it. I don't have the resources to do that. We've done exactly what you're saying.
That's
Or
so
say,
cool.
hey, look, hey, we've got a cabin up, in the woods. You can get away. It's super peaceful. Here, you know what? Why don't you guys just go stay there for the weekend? It's on us.
So awesome.
And it's like, well, gosh, that's that would normally be $1,000. Get away or whatever, I mean, but I now have some additional options that I didn't have otherwise. Can I give away, them cash? Does that really help? Well, not necessarily. I mean, maybe it does. I don't know. But, again, you just have more options to be able to do it. And so that's what you're doing whenever you become more successful. There's so many different ways to be able to give back. So yeah, give yourself the opportunity to do it. Right. So,
absolutely.
No, that's very good. But yeah, no, and I think you're right about the social media component. I'm kind of laughing at your example there, where because I get that a lot, where you're talking about, well, this elderly client, and they didn't want all the people coming through, right? Or I've been through so many. I mean, as a wholesaler years ago, I mean, you can't imagine the phone calls that you get. I get this a lot. I do a ton of networking and go to a lot of events, and you'll get people who are not in the they don't do investing, or they're just looking into it. And it's like, well, why would anybody not? This happened recently. Why would anybody not? Why would anybody? Why wouldn't they just list with a realtor? Why would they sell at a discount? They don't need to. And I'm like, because you haven't taken the phone call, or you haven't met with the client who's like, look, I'm going through a divorce. I can't make my payment next month. And if I don't sell this, we're going to lose the house. I'm going to lose my kids and whatnot. You think that they want to have a house that's, hey, all your traditional realtors, hey, let's come get some photos in the house, and let's just make it look great, and just clean up your house, and, get rid of all the stuff, and, let's do some renovations, and let's make some. No, they don't want to do all that. They're not in the mindset to do that. They don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that. They're just trying to hang on and just trying to survive. And, and guess what? They just need out of their situation. They don't really
if you're
even
going through a divorce, I've had it too, right? And I've actually, I listed it in this case, but you're going through a divorce. You really don't want to go through those drawers of old stuff of you and your spouse. You just can't. You can't mentally and emotionally handle it. And so an investor makes sense. And so I will add this because I think if you're an investor or realtor listening to this, I'm going to give you one tip that I tell everyone, because it's such a no-brainer. Here, actually, maybe we'll call out Steve. Steve, do you have it? I don't know. So if you go to my bio, my bio, I'll read it says realtor, podcaster, real estate mentor and coach, call or text me anytime. I cannot stand, there's realtors that I coach and they post their open house or this or that or whatever. And I scroll and I cannot find their phone number, right? Put your phone number in your bio. You're a realtor. Or even for those of you investors, if all you take away, it's like, hey, just so you know, I buy and sell homes in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Call or text me anytime, 867-5309. You have no idea. I have people, Steve, and the power of social media, it's not about the likes or the comments. That's all crap. It's a vanity metric. I had someone last November message me. I went to school with this person 15 years ago. Have not spoken to them. No offense to them. Did not know whether they were alive or dead, whatever. Did not know. They moved to my area and were renting. They said, hey, John, we see you're a realtor in Lancaster doing great things. Can you help us buy or sell a home? And I'm like, oh, sure. Like, I would love to talk. Like, but you don't, there's Facebook and social media has so many lurkers. Don't worry that it got one comment or 3 heart. It does not matter. There's people there watching.
Right. Yep. No, I absolutely agree. And that's one of those things too. It's like, well, I'm not pitching my business. Right? I don't pitch what I do necessarily. Right. Like, and I probably should do a little better job of it, but like we travel a ton and,
love it.
We travel a lot. That's a high priority for us. And it's one of those things where even just posting that, it's like, well, how do you guys travel so much? And you'll just get questions and it's like, well, what are you doing? And again, I'm not, like it's not, I'm not out there like, well, hey, do this and you can get extra return. I don't need to do that. Like, it's like, okay, well, you'll have just randomly people reach out and just like that, you're getting a lurker, right? It's like somebody that will just, people are always watching. Yes. People are always watching, whether you say it or not, or whether you realize it or not, people are always watching. And that's just, you're giving it somebody else, you're giving another platform for people to be able to kind of observe you. Right. Like when you're using the different social media platforms. So, yeah, no, it's super important. Well, John, I feel like we could, I could have you on and we could talk and whatnot all day. But at this kind of, I want to be, of course, mindful of your time. This is the point in the show where we transition to what we call our fire round. It's a little bit more kind of rapid fire, kind of brief Q&A. Is that something you're game for?
Let's go.
All right, right on. All right. So first question is, what is the best book that you recommend? Other than Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's a real estate Bible.
Everybody says that. Yeah, I'm going to tell you a book and nobody's probably heard of it, and that's okay.
That's great.
My mentor, Vincent Puglisi, wrote a book called The Wealth of Connections. And he literally, even at the bottom of the book, put non-best-selling author because it was kind of a slight to the industry. But the way he wrote the bottom of the book is basically how he runs his business. It's basically doing the polar opposite of everything you've ever learned. So he, for instance, started a low budget membership and had $9 a month and had multiple conversations. We would jump on the phone with Steve and John about it. And people would be like, I'm not doing that for $9 a month. So he's a great mentor to me. And so check it out. The Wealth of Connections. It's basically about how we should be building relationships, not trying to pitch and make a sale. My favorite book that and not just because he's my friend, but it's actually a wonderful book. So that is my favorite book about business.
No, I love that. That's actually really good. I love hearing, and I feel like our audience gets value out of that when people don't recommend, everybody recommends this, XYZ. And it's like, okay, well, no, I like kind of these obscure stuff because again, it's one concept, right? It's one strategy, one just mindset change that can really make a significant impact in your life and your business. So, I love that. All right, next question. What is your superpower?
I would say my superpower is I am able to build a relationship with clients that nobody else can do. So 100% of my clients in my real estate business have left me a review.
Awesome. That's great.
And I guide them through the entire journey, right? Like I joke about it. Hey, sorry I missed your call. Make sure you leave me a 1-star review. Like I kind of am a little like snarky and sarcastic. And then like when they say, thank you so much, you're the best, thanks for showing us the house, I'm like, make sure you write that in the 5-star review. So I kind of, by joking about it, I think then when it's right before settlement, I texted one and they're like, no, John, I'm not giving you your freaking 5-star review right now. I'm trying to pack. But they just kind of already knew and expected it. And I guided it to like getting that review to leverage it for more business.
No, that's great. That's actually a good reminder, because I feel like, again, this is part of that. To me, it factors into social media, because social media is really is social proof, right? And that's where like the online reviews, I mean, whatever facet that is that you're doing, or it's Google, if it's, whatever, Redfin, or, Yelp, or whatever platform that it is you're using, your Facebook profile, whatever. Yeah, get them to leave a review, because that's what it is. It's social proof that, hey, other people have used John before. Oh yeah, all right, yeah, he's pretty solid. I like that. And you're always just kind of planting seeds, dropping it. Hey, this is the expectation. I like that. Yeah, I really like that.
I can tell you I'm a great agent all day and nobody cares. You do not care.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Right? What am I going to say? I'm terrible? That's social proof, and the picture of the happy client at settlement is a huge win.
Yeah, no, I love it. Love it. Love it. All right, next question. What is the biggest lesson that you've learned over your career thus far?
Oh my goodness. Trust the process. Trust the process. Yeah, I think things work out the way they're supposed to. There's a lot of stress, a lot of work, a lot of that, but it all kind of works out the way it's supposed to.
No, I love that. Yeah, it's actually really good. Be less focused, I think, on the outcome, right? And just knowing that, hey, I'm putting in the time, putting in the effort. Like, I know that if I just call enough clients, I can work. There's going to be a percentage there that they will eventually buy, sell, or whatever it is that you're doing in your business, right? So yeah, that's just, if you're just trusting the process, you get results. So I like that.
And it's funny that you say that. I know we got to keep moving. I'll say really quick, when I try to grow my membership or mastermind or podcast, I try to, and even my business, I try to judge my action, not the result, right? Someone might talk to me about my mastermind or mentorship or whatever, and they might not be a good fit, or financially it doesn't work. And that's okay. But did I have the conversation? Did I try to reach out to people? Did I try to help them and serve them? That's what I'm trying to judge. The actions, not the results.
Yep. No, I fully agree. That's actually really good. All right. For the busy working professional, they're trying to work towards financial freedom. What advice would you have for them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is you got to start somewhere, right? I had the advantage of, I lost my job. I was screwed. I jumped into this. But anyone that's like in real estate or thinking about investing, I had someone that on my podcast last week that has 200 doors in 2 years in Airbnbs. And one of the things he said was, I started with one. Right. I think we get so overwhelmed. Like, I got to do this. I got to start with one. You could go buy a rental, and we're working on it. Like tomorrow, you could start with one, gauge the success. Did it work? Great. 2, 3, 4. You don't need 200 doors tomorrow.
Yeah. No, you just got to take some action. You just got to get moving. And what I found too is like, a body in motion tends to stay in motion. So once you have one, you get the experience. Then I get 2. Okay, great. I can do this. It's confidence building. And then that builds to 5. And then that builds to more. But you got to start with the 1. All right. And then, hey, if our audience wants to reach out to you, they want to learn more about, your mentorship, your coaching, what are the best avenues where they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, social media is probably the best, right? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, I'm everywhere. John Schuchman. You can email me, johnschuchmanrealtor@gmail.com. And here's the thing, and seriously, this is, I barely even talk about the membership and mastermind because it's not a pitch. If you're listening to this and you need social media help, I do free social media audits all the time, and I love them. I'll jump on Zoom for 30 minutes with you. I'm not going to get to the end and pitch you and like ask you to help, like to join my membership or mastermind. You might want to because you see the value there, and if so, that's great. But I'm not going to sit there and beg you to do it. Right? I'm focused on the action of serving people and helping people. So I'm happy to chat with anyone anytime about social media if they're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, or what do I post? How do I post? Where? And I love social media, and I love helping people go from stressed about it to like finding freedom and like using it to really grow their business.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. So guys, make sure that you're reaching out to John. You got questions, if you guys are just, hey, where do I start with social media? Make sure you hit them up, any of those channels. John, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. I've enjoyed our time together, and I'm sure our audience has as well. But yeah, we'll definitely look to stay in touch, and, enjoy your day. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time and thanks for everything you're doing to help people. Have an awesome day.
You too. Thank you. Aloha. Oh, awesome. Great time talking social media, business, real estate with John Schuchman. If you guys are, of course, interested in social media and kind of learning more, make sure that you're reaching out to him. And it was a great conversation with him. I know he's got a lot of value to add, just in his experience with helping others and helping clients. I mean, I know I got to go look at my profiles now and start adding some more stuff. So make sure that you're checking them out. I definitely agree with a lot of the things that we covered with, joining the mastermind, right? Getting help, surrounding yourself with other people that are like-minded, right? That can push you, that can help you, finding maybe a weak spot or throwing yourself out into the deep water, right? For him, it was losing his job when they were expecting a child. And it's like, gosh, that stirs you into action, right? That forces some action. Trusting the process, right? Not necessarily being so focused on the outcome. And I know that can be challenging to do, but it just trusting the system, trusting, the process, will lead to good results. It just can't help but to do it, right? You're following the formula, and then really just to get started, right? So those are some huge takeaways for me in the time together with John. Well, guys, if you guys are interested, of course, in connecting with us, investing with us, finding out about the deals and stuff that we've got going on, go, of course, to tricityequity.com. We'd love to connect with you, have a conversation with you, or exchange emails, and we'd love to be able to talk a little bit more with you and how we can better you in your future. To connect with other, of course, like-minded investors. We're talking about this in mastermind and connecting with other people who are where you want to go. Go to our Facebook group, Honolulu Multifamily and more. We have monthly meetups where we get a chance to connect in person, live. The podcast is awesome, and I love that John, that I can share with people who are clear across the country. He's in Pennsylvania, I'm in Hawaii, so we're literally thousands of miles apart. But there's definitely something powerful to be able to connect in person. So make sure that you're joining us there to be able to find out when we're having the next meetup, so we can meet you in person. Of course, if you guys, we put on conferences too. So this may or may not be catching when this conference is coming up, but we do, of course, have the Hawaii Millionaire Mindset Conference. That's over on the Big Island. There's still tickets available. So we definitely make sure that you're planning to do that. And of course, if you guys are finding value in the podcast, we need the encouragement to continue to do them. We're taking time and energy out of our schedules and out of our day to be able to go and deliver this content to you guys. So if this is something you're finding value in, please leave us a review. If it's something, leave us a 5-star review. If it's something you hate, I can take a 1-star review too. Say, Steve, this sucked. Tell me how we can get better, right? I want to get that review too. So make sure that you guys are engaging with us there, wherever it is that you're listening to us. Make sure you're subscribing. Go, share with a friend if you think that this is good content. But give us we'd love that feedback. So, but all right, guys, that's going to be it for me today. Signing off. Go out, take some action. Just take that one step at a time, and go out and do something great. We'll talk to you soon. Aloha.